What's up, Pine Logical? Gabriel Baker back again. I'm tired today. I had to dig 2 feet of snow for like 2 hours, shoveling snow for 2 hours. That was not fun. Thank God my neighbor was there to help me. And then I did yoga and Pilates, so like my body is complete jello right now, and I got some sinus congestion. So I apologize ahead of time if I'm sniffling a lot. You guys notice that I sniffle a lot throughout most of my videos? I noticed that when I was watching some of them the other day. And I'm like, wow, why am I sniffling? I wasn't even sick that day, and yet here I am. So what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about the Hermetic Principles that it says right there in that cute little left corner. So the Hermetic Principles are occult philosophy, ancient wisdom that date as early as the 1st century. So there's not a lot to it, but there's a lot of different sections that apply to this. There's even a couple other different sections that are listed that's what in this book. So I'm just going to start right off by the definition of Hermeticism is a philosophical system based on purported teachings of Hermes Trismegistus, a legendary Hellenistic combo of the Greek god Hermes and the Egyptian god of Thoth. So to build off the definition, Hermeticism is a school of ideas of systems of the focus of gnosis, the pursuit of knowledge or pertaining the spiritual mysteries, or a concept of deeper philosophical aspects of life. Yeah. So obviously, as I said, is that Hermes Trismegistus was believed to be a combo of god Hermes and the Egyptian god of Thoth. Hermes being the Greek god of messenger of the gods, conductor of the dead to Hades, god of luck, fertility, travel, and language. And then Thoth, the Egyptian god of the moon, sacred texts, mathematics, the sciences, magic, messenger, and recorder of deities, master of knowledge, and patron of scribes. So, yeah, Hermeticism is kind of just like that. Like I said, it's that ancient philosophy, and this has been around for quite a long time. So to branch off of that is that Hermeticism is a branch of spiritual philosophy dating back as early as the 1st century A.D. They were outlined by the author Hermes Trismegistus, who is believed to have written the Emerald Tablets and the Corpus Hermeticum, two highly influential ancient teachings, which took light in the 15th century of the Italian Renaissance, and that's when they kind of did a little bit more of a modern reiteration, even though that is not really that modern compared to what we think about modern for now. But the 7 Hermetic Principles were passed down by word of mouth. Because obviously around this time, most people believe that it was some witchcraft, black magic, voodoo, I'm going to curse your family and child type shit. But, it was considered like that, so that's why they did it to word of mouth. So, like, the master would teach their student, and then they would pass it on and so forth when they would become a master and teach it to their student. So, one day in the 20th century, the teachings were compiled into a book called the Kabbalion by the 3 initiates. They remain as an occult source of wisdom, separate from any real religion, but powerful. While the 7 principles are just one way of understanding the universe, they aren't so constricting that they cannot be studied alongside other spiritual philosophies or any other philosophies in general. It is still unknown who actually wrote these or the Emerald Tablet, but most people would consider that it's either the Hermes dude, the combo of Hermes and Thoth, or the 3 initiates, or it might even just be to where like those 3 wrote them, and then they just conspired to be like Thoth and Hermes. Who knows? But that's what they have written down. So the very first principle is the principle of mentalism. All is mind. The universe is mental. The principle of mentalism states the universe is related to mental projection, using thoughts to shape our reality. For it to be a thought must come before. Through the principle, it's believed that God or whatever is believed is consciousness or thought, and the universe is a manifestation of the mind of God, mind to create life or in reality. So it's usually what I'm always talking about when it comes to the constantly trying to look at the positive, trying to be a little bit optimistic, trying to make sure that you are constantly keeping your mental safe, secure. You're going to be thinking positive thoughts to make sure that you can give yourself that positive affirmation to keep doing what you're trying to do, to make sure that you can see exactly what you are trying to do or trying to get, what you're trying to conquer, being able to see it mentally so that you can perceive it in your reality. So there are ways that you can apply these. So consider the initial thought that led you to read or watch this, or the thought that is most influencing your mood right now. When one recognizes how much our thoughts manifest every day, either internally as a physiological or emotional state, or externally as things that we do or places we go, we see that when we control our mind, we control our lives. Meditation really helps with this, to help us ease the brain, to calm us down, to bring us peace, to bring us zen. Like, there's a lot that you can really use for this when it comes to making sure that your mental is healthy, that your mental is what you're trying to see, what your reality is. That's the whole thing that I've actually been kind of surprised that a lot of these things that I actually was already talking about throughout the years that I've been doing YouTube, that a lot of these things are actually what I've been talking about a lot. So I found it kind of ironic, kind of hilarious, but I was like, all right, cool. At least I have something that I can base my thoughts around, something that I can base of what I was already talking about in the first place. The second one, the principle of correspondence. As above, so below. As below, so above. Related to the first principle of mentalism, it states that what we hold in our thoughts will become our reality. It explains the many planes of existence, including those of lower and higher vibrational frequencies, and how they are connected. So, like I said, as it states that they correlated, but as I said too, that this is also a thing too, is that you have to understand about how your minds either help you propel up or they're going to send you spiraling. Are your negative thoughts going to keep you going down to where you're thinking negatively, so you're going to feel negatively, you're perceiving negatively, or you're actually thinking positively, mentally, and then percepting positive realities in our own reality. So how to apply it? It is all about understanding our connection to the world around us and how we are showing up for ourselves in the universe through our thoughts and subsequently our actions. When we understand how we interact with life and how it affects us, we can see and break patterns, live in alignment, and feel harmony with everything. So there's correspondence of making sure that you can feel everything that you feel. If you're feeling positive, make sure that you show it to be positive. The correspondence of what your thoughts, how they help you, how they reflect onto you, how they reflect in your reality, and so on and so forth. The third one is the principle of vibration, the vibes. Nothing rests. Everything moves, everything vibrates, the vibes. This principle states that all things, both physical matter and spiritual energy, hold a certain vibration. Basic science tells us atoms are in constant motion, as it is with the universe itself. When we are in any emotional state is the vibe. When we vibe high, we avoid lows. So the vibes, everybody knows about that. Most people are like, yeah, the vibe. I'm loving the vibe of everybody right now. I'm loving the vibe that I'm giving off to myself. I'm loving the vibe that I'm giving off to other people. You know, that this also does correlate with the correspondence and the mentalism, because you want to be able to make sure that you're making your vibration a lot higher. You know, and like it's just more about being able to look at it about how much you're actually positively influencing yourself and other people, or are you actually negatively influencing yourself and other people? How are you making sure that you can stay high when you're feeling good, and how can you make sure that you avoid the lows so that you're not going up and down this whole like wavelength of feeling high and then feeling low, feeling high and then feeling low, feeling high and then feeling low. So, how to apply it? This is different for everyone. You want to not only do things, but think thoughts that allow you to be able to be a state of ease, to vibe high at a positive state. We can acknowledge that when we control our vibe instead of it controlling us. So we want to always make sure that we can control our vibe, because we have control over these things. We can control our thoughts. We can control what we're trying to project to people, what we're trying to project to ourselves, what we're trying to do for ourselves. The things that we do, does it give us high vibrational feelings, or does it make us feel low? Are we thinking that we are worthy, deserving, and blessed, or are we thinking that we're not worthy, deserving, and blessed for the things that we want, the things we want to do, the things that we definitely need for life? So, the principle of polarity, number 4. Everything is dual. Everything has poles. Everything has a pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature but different in degree. Extremes meet, all truths are but half-truths, and all paradoxes may be reconciled. This principle explains that seemingly opposite things are one and the same at varying degrees. Example, hot and cold. Cold is the absence of heat, and they're both one thing, temperature. Physical matter and spiritual energy are the same thing, with spiritual energy vibrating at a much higher level that can't be perceived by our senses. Love and hate, 2 ways of experiencing a relationship towards something, the ability to transmute. So, like, the polarity is about understanding about how 2 things that usually relate to the one thing, they're opposites of each other, but they still explain the same thing. Another example would be big or small, hard and soft, light and darkness. Those are the things that you can't have one without the other. The balance that I'm always talking about. There's always a balance with everything. There isn't one thing to where it's like, especially if we want good in the world, we have to experience the dark shit to happen for that good to come up and be able to make sure to propel us into higher things, to help us propel into a better way of thinking, to make sure that our society is good and all these other things. That understanding the polarity about things really does understand about how you can understand the balance of what happens. So how to apply it? Shifting the way you look at something. Can you love something you hate? With the lower sense of emotion, can you recognize, feel, and change to a positive one? Like I said, the spiraling. When you're spiraling, can all of a sudden you stop and start making sure that you can build up the vibe where all of a sudden you're thinking about all these positive things, and they're raising your happiness, they're raising your energy, they're raising all your things. Like, you actually feel good about these things that you're doing. It's having to be able to understand that you can always look at things more than one way, and that's how I am too. I'm always constantly looking at things more than one way, because there are many ways of looking at things. There are many different perceptions that we can look at one thing, be it either something super serious like politics or either something super simple. It's that all understanding the polarity of these things. Next one, principle 5, the principle of rhythm. Everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. Closely related to the principle of polarity, this principle states between the opposing poles there exists a natural rhythm. Time goes in and out. We inhale and then exhale. Nature has its seasons, and so too do we. Seeing this principle, we can work with our and the universe's natural rhythm instead of working against us. So it's literally all about having to understand the pendulum swing. We're going to build up the momentum into the pendulum swing, and then we're going to know that we're rising to the fullest potential, and then we start freaking out a little bit when that pendulum starts going back a little bit, and then it just kind of goes back and forth. It's kind of tied into cause and effect, but it's not really the same thing. So they're the same but different, same but different. So you have to always understand about how you can be able to ride the emotions that you're rising up, and then how it's going to correlate and come back down. Because when we're feeling the rise of things, when we're feeling too angry, when we're feeling all the emotions, it's going to even back out, and then it's probably going to happen again, and then it's going to even back out. So how to apply it? Nothing lasts forever, and things are always changing. As you go deeper, you will be able to work for your own emotional states to avoid the dramatic pendulum swing of emotions. Become aware of your emotional state using polarity and rhythm to get more comfortable with natural fluxes. There's another part of this of knowing things you lose will come back, and things you own now will disappear later. The principle of rhythm, the cycle. This is the one principle that I understand where there's a cycle of things. There's always a cycle of things that happen. We go through our own cycles too, of even when it comes to like how when we're trying to understand a lesson in life, a lesson of learning, just to make sure that we're not doing the same things again. Are we going to keep repeating the same cycle, or are we going to make sure that we go with the rhythm and change? Like, yeah, there's always change. Change is always happening. Change is constantly consistent. Number 6, cause and effect. Everybody knows this. Cause and effect is usually in physical science, if I remember right. But I think it does correlate in a lot of other things like physics, and I think chemistry and other things too. But every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is not but a name for law not recognized. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes law. So everything is connected through this principle. For each cause of one thing is an effect of something else. Going back to the beginning, ask yourself, are you a cause or are you an effect? Acknowledge the effects of our thoughts and behavior and how we can change to bring the greater effects. Everybody knows about cause and effect. What you do, there's always going to be an effect, good or bad, no matter what the heck you do. Sometimes you do really have to understand that it's like if you do something, one thing, that's the cause. What is, like, you don't really have to worry about the effect. The effect is really unknown a lot until it happens to us, but there's always an effect of what happens, be it either like if you're complimenting somebody, the effect of where it's either they feel really good about it or they don't feel really good about it. They might think that you're lying or something like that. There's always random effects. There's multiple effects that might happen. You don't really even know what the heck's going to happen until it happens. That's the funny thing about it. So how to apply it? With expectations not met or you're unhappy, what was the cause? We react to the world around us, trapped in a back and forth, reacting to circumstances instead of making our own path. When we take action to get an effect we move from feeling a victim to overpowered. Cause and effect, baby. Cause and effect. That's always the one thing that you definitely always usually want to look out for too. And I feel like that's the one thing that a lot of people really miss a lot too, is not really understanding the effect for some of the causes that they do or that they bring on to people, the things that they are trying to do for the world or anything like that, that there's always an effect. Sometimes good, sometimes bad, sometimes a little bit of both. So there's always that too. So the very last one is the principle of gender. And I've been talking about the principle of gender for a lot because that it's like everybody has masculine and feminine traits. Everything is gender. And especially when I was thinking about it, the first thing that pops into my head was language. because some languages, and the only two that I can really think about, I think, are German and Spanish, to where even specific objects, they will either refer it to either as a he or she, and they mean two different things, especially for how you pronounce it and stuff like that. So I found that really interesting and really ironic. So, principle of gender. Gender is in everything. Everything has masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests in all planes. This states that all things have masculine and feminine qualities. The two sexes can be thought of as a physical manifestation of this principle, but as we all discover, all of us hold both of these energies. Masculine and feminine energy exists in the mental and spiritual as well as in the physical plane. Unity of two is essential for creation. Balance. How to apply it. Accept all parts of yourself and understand balance is key to self-mastery. Buddha called this the middle way, and it is all about balance of the masculine and feminine, heavenly and earthbound, of mind, body, and soul. When we have this balance, we are well equipped to harness all of these other principles. Principle of gender. I say it all the time. I tell everybody that all the time. I mean, I might not be saying it all the time, but most of the time, usually I'm always referencing it to it, because we all have the feminine traits of compassionate, caring. We're constantly trying to make sure that we are nurturing and be the protector, the mom or dad bear, so to speak, and then the masculine, also the protector, the supporter, the go-getter, the supplier of things that are necessary or needed, stuff like that. Like, there's always something. We always have the feminine and masculine traits, no matter who we are, because especially with masculine and feminine traits, we usually get them from our mother and our father. We understand the reactions about how they go about things, how they interact with each other, and that's usually how we are able to understand what our masculine and feminine traits usually are, is by thinking about how our childhood was with our parents. So, that's pretty much it. The Hermetic Principles have definitely been something, like I said, that I have definitely didn't know about, for it to be about the things that I was already talking about, but they are definitely something that really popped into my head. They were something that I'm just like, okay, yeah, I've already been talking about this. You know, and the spiritual aspect of this is that you can either look at it as spiritual or not. Spiritual apparently is another word for psychology, and I didn't even know that, or psychological. And I thought that was actually pretty interesting, because it's like more based around the definition of what spiritual means, relating to affecting the human spirit or soul as opposed to material or physical things. And especially in the last one, when we were talking about manifesting. Manifesting is, as an adjective, is like a clear, obvious statement, action, or there's the verb, the action is to demonstrate the manifestation. And most people, when it comes to manifesting, it's all pretty much about like what you perceive as what's your reality. If you perceive it mentally, you're probably going to end up getting it to your reality. So you're manifesting that feeling, that person, that thing that you want to do, manifesting the happy and manifesting the skills that you need or necessary for you to be able to do the things that you want to do. So, you know, you got to take it as you will. Like I said, philosophies are just really interesting to me. Philosophies have been like on my brain for pretty much a long time now, just because that they help you look at things a lot more simpler. Because there was a quote that I heard that kind of made sense of this, to where like when you're looking for truths, the answers are usually the most simplest. And that was in The Rings of Power. It's a Lord of the Rings show on Amazon, if people don't know what the heck that is. That I found it really ironic that, yeah, a lot of the truths that we are trying to look for, they're the most simplest answers that you can really think of. And a lot of these philosophies are really simple. They're really plain. Like, they're not, I wouldn't say bland, but they just kind of make it to where it's like you have like this little section of stuff that kind of just like, it makes sense, you know, and then you don't really need to question a lot of it. So a lot of these philosophies are just kind of help you kind of understand a lot of these weird aspects of life, questions that most people probably do have. I'm not saying that everybody does, or they're trying to figure out what the meaning of life is, if it's 42 or if it's just like, you know, just living your life to the fullest, you know. But that's pretty much it, like I said. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Like I said, that these are pretty simple. Most people really kind of understand these things, and especially when it comes to the whole part of how you're able to apply these things. Most people can actually apply to these things in a daily way. There's some way that you can apply these things at all times. And even in my next video that I have planned, is that there are some philosophical ways to kind of look at it, but it's a more modern topic. It's been around in the air for a long time. I mean, I guess I don't really know if it is for other people, but it has been for me. I'm not trying to spill the beans of what that is because obviously I want to do the video first, not just give it out. But for how modern that topic is and being able to kind of give it a little philosophical twist is because that somebody was telling me that it's like, why do you always look at things so philosophical? And I'm like, I don't know. I just do. Sometimes I'm just able to look at life as a lot of easier things than we really need to look at it for, instead of thinking that life is always trying to go out and get to us, or that it's always our fault or anything, that we're always the effect of the cause and stuff like that. But all right, like, comment, subscribe, and share. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you guys soon.